Hey, you are watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I am Lisa, and I am going to do a reading for the lunar eclipse. Yeah, this eclipse season has been pretty, pretty interesting. It's not the lunar eclipse yet. When I'm doing this reading, it's like, I don't know, a few days before, but I'll probably do one like, during, also when the energies are like peaking or whatever. But so I'm starting with Mystical Shaman Oracle, and when I did the split, I got Wind and I got Jaguar. So this is really interesting. I mean, yeah, I'm like seeing all this stuff that like I haven't seen. But and anyway, so the Jaguar is all about sort of like becoming the master of your shadow. And so I think this eclipse season has kind of been about that, and it's about, you know, coming into command of our shadow element, like facing our fears and then healing that and moving forward from like with more wisdom and empowerment. And it's interesting because we have this Jaguar and we have this, it's so crazy, but we have this like full moon here, but there's this shadow. Like it's almost like it's showing an eclipse in this card. Like I've never noticed that before. It's so crazy. um so and then we have the Wind. So this is a card that signifies change, you can see this wind is like really strong. It's like a gale force wind, and it's interesting because we also have a moon here, and we have this hawk, which is almost like a sign, this hawk is sort of like overseeing the situation. It's like you're getting guidance from above almost. But this is causing a huge shift. This facing our fears, coming into command of our shadow element, it's causing a huge shift, and it's like causing things to like move forward. I mean, I think for months and months like leading up to this eclipse season, there's been all this I want to say like it's just like this injustice, and there's just been this having to work through sort of overcoming some sort of unjust situation. And I mean, there's been a lot about that coming through, and it's almost like that situation is coming to some sort of resolution, and then it's like finally you're allowed to like move forward, because it's just been, things have just been stuck in this morass, and there's finally going to be some sort of like acceptance of like what the actual reality truth is, and so that things can finally start to move forward. Okay, so we have the Urban Tarot, and I haven't used this deck in a while, and I love this deck. It's like one of my favorite decks. Okay, oh my gosh. So, wow, okay. So this is really interesting. Okay, so at the bottom of this deck, we have the Hangman. So this is kind of like sort of taking a step back and getting perspective, and like sort of assessing a situation maybe, and also just sort of like, that in order to manifest like this movement forward, like it's almost like something's going to have to be sacrificed. Like there, obviously we've been being held back, and like we're going to have to like change some sort of limiting belief or situation, or it's got to go, in order for this movement to happen. Like a shift. I mean, like we've got gale force winds here. Like something's got to shift, in order to make space for this movement. So we have the Three of Wands, which in this deck is virtue. The Princess of Cups, which is the costume designer. We have indolence. And we have the Prince of Discs, which is it's the day trader. So it's really interesting because, you know, it's like we're trying to manifest our dreams, you know, like this costume designer. It's like, this totally reminds me every time this card comes up of Cinderella, you know, making her dress for the ball with the mice. And, you know, she's making something out of nothing. You know, the costume designer actually has to deal with the realm of reality, but she's creating these dreams, you know, like these fantasies, you know, but in real life, you know, like that's her job. So we're trying to manifest this dream, but in order to do that, we have indolence here. We're going to have to walk away from a disappointing situation that's been holding us back or limiting, you know, something. We have to leave it behind, you know. And directly after that, we have the day trader, the Prince of Discs. So it's interesting because in this deck we have this day trader, which is just sort of like, you know, it's almost like this person really operates in like three-dimensional reality. It's all about money. Like, you know, we're trading like numbers and like back and forth, you know, and it all like distills down to the bottom line, you know. But if we want to build this dream, you know, if we want to build this fantasy, you know, this dream, like, I mean, she's operating in the world of reality, you know, but it can't be all about money, you know, like there has to be space for this dream. Like you know, if you're just like manifesting like money, like it's not going to work, you know, because if you're like trying to co-create with the universe, there has to be like some deeper intention than just greed, you know. Like just being greedy, like that's like, I mean, that's just so 3D, you know, like the world is moving past that. And it's kind of like, that's kind of the thing. It's just like, you know, in this case, like, the shadow element to be overcome maybe is greed. That's what has to be sacrificed in order to manifest this dream. So it's almost like there's this new order that's emerging, and it's sort of like it's funny because like ever since the pandemic and everything, it's like, it's almost like before the pandemic, the whole age of the narcissist, of like the person who's just gonna stomp on whoever they have to like get what they want, and like no morals, like it's all about winning and it's all about money, you know. But it's like almost like that era is over, because like that dream, I mean, that doesn't inspire people, you know. And it's like when times are tough and we have to overcome things, like we have to work together, you know, like we have to inspire people. There has to be a vision beyond just like narcissism. Like that doesn't motivate people at all, you know, like that's what's getting left behind. We're moving into like a higher realm, you know. So this is a really interesting message to come through. I'm going to the Woodland Wardens, and I'm just going to do a split and see what I get. But this is a really interesting, the message that came out. Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we got the skunk and the magnolia, which is protection. And we have the bear and cedar, which is leadership. So that's really interesting because it's sort of like a real leader inspires people with a vision, you know, and like greed isn't a vision that inspires people. So it's almost like there's this higher power, you know, because we have this higher power like presiding over the situation, and it's just sort of like there's protection being offered for people who are like trying to make positive change in the world, you know, because there's this big shakeup that's going to happen. And it's like almost like we're sifting through, and like all the narcissists and all the people who are just greedy and only motivated by like three-dimensional reality, like, I mean, not that three-dimensional reality is bad, but like materialism, that's going to kind of like fall through the cracks, you know, because there's this new order emerging. And so protection is being offered to the visionaries. And it's really interesting because in the age of narcissism, like those are the people that just got stomped on and trodden on by all the people that were like obsessed with the bottom line, you know. But it's like this new era that's emerging. And it's like, I feel like I've gotten this this message before. Like it's been kind of like there's been a steady drumbeat with that message, because I've definitely gotten it, something along those lines before. So, okay, I'm going to go to the Intuitive Night Goddess and just pick a couple cards from this deck. And then I'm going to go to the Queen of the Moon Oracle, because it is a lunar eclipse. And, yeah, so this is the Night Goddess. So it's like almost like this is sort of like what's happening in almost in like the spiritual realm as I'm saying all this. Okay. All right, so we've got the 10 of Wands. So putting this burden down, like it's like we've been identifying with this burden, and it's like almost like like I was talking about, like this is what just came to me, like all the visionaries have been just like trotted on and, you know, tromped on by like the age of narcissism, and like kind of been victimized by that. But like in order to like sort of like assume this leadership role, like the first thing they have to do, they're gonna have to put that burden down, you know, because it's like not theirs to carry. Like it's time to like put it down. If it's not yours, like put it down. We got the 2 of Cups. We got Chance, which is kind of like the Wheel of Fortune. And we've got the Nymph of Swords, which is kind of like the Page of Swords. So it's like, it's interesting because this is very Libra-ish in this deck, but like things are coming into balance. Like there's like love coming in for this visionary, this dreamer, this, and balance. And maybe like it's almost like Cinderella, like this is all this, because this totally reminds me of Cinderella, and I have a whole thread about Cinderella that I'm gonna link here, because this just came to me. Like it's like Cinderella was totally abused and downtrodden by this sort of like narcissistic, greedy stepsisters and stepmother, and so she had been like kind of like living in this abusive relationship, you know, but she didn't let that make her bitter too. Like she just kept doing the right thing, you know, and like she kept just trying to manifest her dreams, even though they kept like trying to stomp on them, you know. But eventually it's like there's this shift happening, and it's time for her to put that down, because she's like found true love, like this prince, like by following her dreams and like trying to manifest that, eventually like she found her people, you know, and that's what's gonna pull her out of this narcissistic nightmare, you know. So it's almost like, like the glass slipper, like they're knocking on the door on her house with the glass slipper, and she doesn't know it yet, but it's like about to go down because we have the Wheel of Fortune. Like things are about to change, There's like truth, it's coming out. Like there's this message of truth and clarity that's coming in, and not everyone's going to be happy about it, Like the stepsisters, the stepmom, like they're like PO'd, but it's happening. Whoa, this is like, it's almost like, I feel like the lunar eclipse is going to be like way more dramatic than the solar eclipse. But that's kind of what I'm getting. All right, so I'm going to Queen of the Moon Oracle, pick some final cards for this beautiful climax of eclipse season. It's been a doozy of an eclipse season for sure, but they always are, Okay, wow. Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever even gotten that card before. I don't think I've ever gotten this card. Okay. Wow, this is so crazy. So at the bottom of the deck, we get darkness, which look at that. That's that freaking lunar eclipse right there. I mean, it's just wild. I got 2 cards with lunar eclipses in it. It's bizarre. Darkness. So it's almost like in order to confront the shadow, like we just have to like be in this moment of darkness where the shadow can come out, where it can fully unfurl itself so that we can actually see it for what it is, and that's how we're going to be able to face it. Like, so that's almost like what's going to happen with the eclipse. Like whatever this shadow is that we've been, having to confront, it's going to completely like show itself for this eclipse, and that's when things are going to change. Like we've been like building up to like having to face our fear. Well, the fear is going to like completely be like, ah! But we're going to have to face it and then rip the Band-Aid off. And then that's when things are going to change. So yeah, like for sure, it's going to be like a major confrontation, but trust and have faith that things are going to work out for the highest good. We have attraction, which is a supermoon. So, and like trust and have faith that whatever work you've done on yourself and healing, you're going to attract, you're going to attract what's meant for you, And if you've been just operating in this world, you're going to attract that too. And it's not going to be, we'll just say that Cinderella's going to end up a lot better off than the stepsisters at the end of this exchange. But it's like a big bang for sure. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do a reading during the eclipse because it's just like, whoa, what's gonna happen here? This looks really powerful. So yeah, I'll check in soon with an update.